Hey guys, as promised, I'm back with another update to my faith journey. And normally I like to start with the good news, the positives, but today I want to start with the not so good news because I want to show you guys how having the right heart posture and having an attitude of gratitude can completely shift things. Like if we change our perspective and stop focusing on our circumstances, and we can actually see what it is that God is really truly doing behind the scenes. So, just this past week, I've had my fair share of bad news or not so good news that I received. I mean, from the harassing phone calls I've been getting from all these different bill collectors for these unpaid debts, from my daughter calling me, letting me know that there was an eviction notice placed on my door, and I literally have 7 days to respond to the courts. I could have very well allowed those things to stress me out, to cause me to get frustrated or irritated and angry, but the Lord had just really gave me this intense amount of joy and peace this week, and I was determined that nothing or no one was going to rob me of that joy and peace that the Lord gave me. So it didn't matter what news I received. It didn't matter, like any of that didn't matter. I was going to continue to be in great spirits. And so, although there was a point where I feel like, okay, well, now I got to get back home to Georgia because I got to take care of this matter, but I ended up finding out that I didn't even actually have to be there in person. I actually was able to go online and answer to it, and hopefully that buys me more time so that God can do what it is that He's going to do, so that He can work the miracle that I'm believing for Him to work. Because if it's His will, then it's His will, right? And so, I'm like, well, thank God I was able to do that. But of course, I definitely didn't want for my things to be put out on the streets because I work hard for the things that I have, and I have good quality, valuable things. And so I'm like, no, like, I refuse to believe that that's my portion. Like, I really would like to think that eviction is not part of my journey or my testimony. But, at the end of the day, God, is your will. So, your will be done. But, I'm like, Lord, please let that not be my portion. And so, as I'm sitting here contemplating and considering driving all the way back to Georgia so I could take care of this matter, then I log into my bank account because I have been working door dashing and making a certain amount of money, and I had my debit card froze. Lo and behold, I log into my bank account only to discover that an auto draft payment hit my account anyway. And so it took like over $500 out of my account. So now, even if I wanted to get in my car and drive back to Georgia, I technically don't have enough money to where I would feel comfortable with making such lengthy drive. And so I'm like, God, really? Like, you really got a sense of humor, Lord. And so He did the very same thing a couple of weeks ago when I was actually contemplating driving back to Georgia. But that time it was like a $700 something charge. And yeah, I could have gotten angry. I could have gotten mad. I could have been like, oh, well, God, why did you allow this to happen? Whatever. But I was like, you know what, God? Cool, it is what it is. Like, it's nothing that I can do about it. So I can only trust and believe that you allowed that to happen for a reason. And maybe it's so that these bill collectors can stop, because one of the payment that came out was kind of to pay some of these debts off or whatever. So I'm like, maybe He allowed it to happen so some of these harassing phone calls can stop. But I'm like, okay, God. But the beauty in all of this is that, like, God is steadily working behind the scenes. So one of my consistent prayers to the Lord was for the salvation of my children. And I'm asking God, like, God, send forth your disciples to, like, save my kids. Like, I want them to experience what I'm experiencing in this relationship that I now have with the Lord. And God told me that, like, one of the reasons why He had me so far away from home is because when life gets to life, and like, you're just gonna run home and try to rescue your children. And I'm not gonna lie, like, since I've been out here and on this journey, life has been lifing for them. And as a parent, I felt guilty because I'm not there to rescue them, to be there for them. And the reality of it is like, it's not until life gets to life, and that's when we typically run to God and build that relationship with Him. And so God is like, let me do what I'm doing. And so this week I was having a conversation with my son, and he was like, Mom, you'll never guess what I've been doing. And I was like, what? He was like, I've been praying every day. And he began to tell me what he was praying for and about. And I was like, thank you, Lord. Like, that is such an answered prayer. And just like, I could just see the shift taking place. Like, he texted me his ID today because he had been waiting on it. And he was like, thank God. And I'm just like, yes, Lord. And even with my daughter, like, she's been doing things like, she let me know that she applied for this assistant coach position for the cheer team she used to cheer for, and she actually got that. And these are things that I feel like my kids wouldn't be doing if I was there back in Atlanta. And so I'm just so thankful and so grateful. And oftentimes when God is doing a thing, we don't even see how he's meeting multiple needs. He's doing more than just one thing. A lot of times the things that he does is for multiple purposes. And you know, furthermore, I went to this event on yesterday to support Tyree, who's now been a part of my community. I met him a little bit over a week ago at this other event, and he's been such a blessing in my life. You can go back and look at some of my prior videos to see how he's been blessing me. And I just came out to support because I'm big on reciprocation, and people that are there and support me, then I wholeheartedly believe in reciprocating. So I went out to his event to support him on yesterday, and I went just as a spectator. And as I'm there enjoying the show, he comes over to me and says, "Hey, I hate to put you on the spot, but would you mind speaking? Because the person who we had that was supposed to speak had an emergency and they're not going to be able to make it." So I'm like, "Of course, sure." But it was in that moment that was just further confirmation from the Lord that I am right where he wants me to be. And it just makes me rejoice because lately there's been a lot of opinions, and I'm not offended by people's opinions because I know that throughout this journey and throughout this process, like whatever God is doing, once I see the other side of this, it's going to be so big that like those people who do have an opinion, like they're going to see God's going to get the glory. And so I'm not really concerned with that. But at the same time, I know that there are people that are probably like, well, she didn't have to go all the way out to California to do what God is calling her to do. She could have did that here in Atlanta. Well, yes, I could have been a speaker there in Atlanta. In fact, I was there. A lot of people in my community know that I'm a speaker, know that I'm a published author, yet I was doing none of those things pretty much, you know. And so what I have come to realize is that once you fully surrender to God's will, like he creates each and every one of us, there's a purpose for each and every one of us. And we are created to meet a need. And there are a people out there whose needs we are supposed to meet. We are assigned to them. And they're assigned to us. And so if I wasn't in the right place at the right time and fully surrendered to God and his will for my life, then I wouldn't have been able to meet that need. I wouldn't have been in alignment and fulfilled what it was he was calling me to do. And the beauty of it is that there was no preparation. I didn't have to send a pitch. So that's how you know that I was really doing what it is that God is calling me to do, because I didn't have time to prepare a speech. I literally spoke from the heart. The Lord spoke through me. So he allowed his light to shine through me. He used me for his glory. And my testimony was impactful, you know what I'm saying? So just these 4 weeks, today makes 4 weeks that I have been here in California, and I have successfully completed 2 speaking engagements where I was just asked on the spot to speak. I didn't have time to prepare a speech. So that, like, I can't tell y'all, like, words can't even express how much that means to me to actually be walking in what God is calling me to do. Like, that is such a rewarding experience to me. And furthermore, I just want to shout out the people who have been so kind to send forth love offerings and just to receive those testimonies. Like some of the very people who have like sold into me have turned around and told me how instantly they received a blessing back from God. And that just warms my heart, and they're letting me know how much my journey has encouraged them and inspired them to keep going during those times when they feel like giving up on what it is that God is calling them to do. And that's what it's all about. It's all about God getting the glory. And so that's the update that I have for you guys. I hope and pray that if this video reached your timeline, it reached you in great spirits and in great health. My name is Caressa. I'm actually headed to the God's Girl event, so y'all stay tuned for another update real soon. I love you guys. Until next time.